Here we go.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, is Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. Cars PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Hello.
Betty, you're alive.
Welcome back and goodbye to the Windsurfing TV podcast on Windsurfing TV. We have had a comment already that says this is clickbait. It's not actually. Or it might be. Who knows? Who knows?
Smart person.
Who knows? We were saying, like, clickbait's all very well, but if everyone's watching this going, well, good, it's about time they close that shit down, just them two talking rubbish all week, every week. Obviously, if you've never tuned into this, we've got Paul Van Bellen over in Australia.
Hello.
He is the new sponsored rider. More on this in a little bit. He's a professional windsurfer now, officially.
Full
obviously,
pro.
I'm Ben Profits. We usually do the podcast, or we have been doing a lot of podcasts, live podcasts like this, all the way through until the summer. And then the summer hit, and I literally have been just absolutely flat out with competitions. But that is now over. And the podcast, we thought we're going to bring it back. So I rung Paul. I'm like, dude, let's bring the podcast back. And he went, Benny, I'm a professional rider now. And you're going to pay me the big bucks if you want me to come on this show. So there has been a little bit of change of how we're going to do this, because obviously I've got to pay him the big bucks now. We are starting a whole new channel just for podcasts. And I know that it's going to be a bit weird at first because there's going to be nobody tuning in. We're going to have no subscribers. And we know it's going to be a lot less than if we do it on Windsurfing TV. But what we want is the hardcore, the ones that love the podcast. I know there's not many of you, but, the 100, 200, how many of it might be, that follow
57.
the podcast, want the podcast, that, that likes Match X podcast, because there is a rumor they're coming back. We've got the Hall of Famers lined up. We've got lots of people lined up, which the list is pretty long. But we are going to do it on its own channel. So if you could just follow the YouTube channel, just put in the search of YouTube at Windsurfing Podcast. If you just put at Windsurfing Podcast in search, you should find the channel. There is one podcast I've already uploaded there, which is the Josh Angulo one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the back catalogue of all the podcasts onto this new channel, because I believe like the podcast viewer is a bit different to the normal Windsurfing TV viewer. It does, obviously there's a big crossover. And then the idea is to put all the podcasts on that channel and the live ones that we're going to do. And then we'll use Windsurfing TV to cut out like 8-minute, 10-minute, 12-minute sections of the podcast, which we think are funny. There won't be many, maybe, or interesting or controversial. And we'll put those on the main Windsurfing TV channel. Does that make sense? So this is the last podcast officially on Windsurfing TV, but then the new podcast channel is coming up, rising.
Do you want to give a brief explanation as to why this change is happening, Benny? Like what, educate us about YouTube algorithms.
There's a lot
and what's going on.
I don't want to bore everybody, but with
just quickly,
all that sort of stuff, we've got so much content going on Windsurfing TV this year. And like I said, that how it works, like with algorithms, if people don't like podcasts, which there are a lot that don't want to sit through a 2-hour conversation or me and him talking rubbish or even just a big long interview, they're just not into that. If they don't then click on the video or they don't watch it, then, it sort of bills you as a person that doesn't want to see this channel, which I think is not a good thing. And I think just trying to find the podcasts on the Windsurfing TV channel is kind of like a bit annoying. If you really want to, like, let's say you've got loads of work planned for the day and you just want to have some Windsurfing TV radio, windsurfing interviews in the background, you can just go to the podcast channel. You know you're going to find all of them in one place. That's the idea. Anyway,
yeah. No, like, it's cool. And I'm actually curious how many of you will. I'm sure everybody listening is going to come across, because they're all the big fans, aren't they, Benny?
Well, what we're thinking is there is some hardcore, and we want to reward the hardcore with our drivel. And we don't want to upset the guys who don't want to see. They just want to watch windsurfing action, and that's fine.
Yep.
But there is you can definitely do both. That's fine. But there is some people that really don't want to listen, and that's cool. That's good.
Yeah, cool.
So there we go. So, that's the plan.
Jan says, sorry, go.
It's all right. Jan says, you Muppets. Oh, you scared me. I thought you just called us
But just to recap what you said, if you go into YouTube, there's obviously a search box there where you can, search your video. So you've just got to put the @ symbol and then Windsurf TV podcast. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah. Windsurfing podcast.
Sorry. Windsurfing podcast. So the @ symbol Windsurfing podcast, and you'll find the channel. Otherwise, it's kind of impossible to find at this point because there's hardly any viewers or videos.
And if you just put Windsurfing podcast without the full name @ Windsurfing podcast, you just find all the other windsurfing podcasts that we've done. So it's kind of it'll be tricky. Let's see. We'll work it out as we go. We'll work it out. No,
it'll be a fun little journey. But I'm curious, Benny, you've just done back-to-back windsurf events, started off, well, I mean, I guess you had a run from Fuerteventura. Sorry, no, was it? Yeah. No, from Pozo to Fuerteventura to Tenerife to Silt.
Well, I mean, there was four, right? From Pozo to Tenerife, Denmark. I feel like I've been in Denmark.
Poland. Oh, you went to Poland?
Yeah. I've been everywhere.
Yeah, so what was the whole...
It's now the best time. Now everything's calming down. We've got world titles. So I've got to run through a few things because this will be a bit jumpy, this podcast, because it is. We weren't going to do it. And then I was like, man, let's just do it. Let's just get this channel up and going. And then we can get back into the rhythm. So firstly, what do you guys want to know out there? Because I've got quite a lot going on right now. Is there anything that's interesting you, which maybe we can help you with? We are definitely going to touch on our new sponsored riders sitting over there, Paul Van Bellen. He's going to be we're going to be talking about that, what it's like to be a new sponsored rider and how much these type of riders earn.
Amazing.
But yes, one thing I will say, which I've had so many emails about, the world title race in the wave sailing rankings. It has just been updated 2 months after it probably should have been updated. And everyone's like, what's going on? What's going on? Basically, I'm just going to sum it up. There was a difference in the scoring of the IWT with the PWA. The PWA wanted to do it one way, as they've always done it, and the IWT wanted to do it another way. The IWT, for example, wanted a 9th place to be 9th place. But the problem is with that, if you are sharing that 9th place with 10 other riders, or however many it is, 8 other riders, it can't be the same as sharing 9th place with 2 riders or being 9th on your own. So Marsilio Brown was 9th in Pozo because of that new system. He ended up 9th on his own. That can't be the same point score as you get for equal 9th with 8 other riders, because I don't want to bore you, but basically the way it's happened now, it's all finished. It's been agreed. It is going to carry on with the way the PWA did it, which was you add up the points for 9th place, 10th place, 11th place, 13th place, all the way to whatever the shared places is. And then you divide it by how many people are in that place, because that's the total amount of points available for all those places. And obviously, if it's shared with 8 riders, you're going to get less points than you would if you were 9th on your own, because you're ahead of all those riders. And that, for me, was the most sensible, obvious way to do it. There was some problems. Again, I'm not going to go into all the internals, but in the end, it is the way it's always been. The update is on the website now, as far as I'm aware. So there has been some movers and shakers. Marsilio Brown is now leading the world tour. I'm
actually just trying to bring up the page. Where is it? I can share this. I'm trying to remember how to push all these buttons again. It's going to take me a.
Yeah.
Can we see that?
Oh, we can see that. There we go.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
So that's interesting. Marcelo Brown leading, Victor Fernandez in second place, and really close. I mean, nothing in it. Marino Gill still up in the top 3. This is amazing. Philip Costa's kind of been under the radar, but he's in 4th place. So that's kind of interesting going to Maui. Morgan Nareau could be a danger man, because obviously Maui, he's probably the guy who's won the most times in Maui. So that's kind of crazy. And then Paré up into 6th place. You know, he's not really counting a proper result to get that 6th place. He needs another result. So he has a chance of a world title. It's an outside chance, but he's definitely got a chance for the podium, which is kind of crazy considering he missed a couple of events with the, you know, with the foot injury. So yeah, then Robbie Swift, Antoine Martin, Julian Salmon, and Liam Dunkerbeck. That's your top 10. The women's quite interesting as well. You know, that has moved around. So there is a lot going on. And obviously, for people who don't know, the last wave event of the year will be Maui. So you don't, as far as I know, you don't have to do Maui this year. But so it's not compulsory. But obviously, you get a chance to get more points. So when it's really close, it will make a difference. In the women, as we're seeing now, Lena Erpenstein still leading. Alexia Kiefer in second place. And then Sarah Keita off Ringer has now got 2 wins. Click on her name. Is it just the 2 wins? Because it will be, I think, 3 events. Was it 4 events for the women? Yeah, so she's counting the 4-star in Tenerife, where she finished 4th. If she does well in Maui, she will have some mega points because she's obviously got 2 wins. So Sarah Keita is the one that could make a big move. Lena Erpenstein could have won the world title if she'd have won, say, Silt. It could have already been wrapped up because Lena Erpenstein's already got a 1st. She's got a 2nd in Gran Canaria, and if she won in Silt instead of Sarah, I think she would have guaranteed herself the world title, which was massive. But interestingly, I haven't spoke to her about this, and this was interesting. You wouldn't know if you weren't there. She totally changed how she did things. It was kind of mad because maybe the pressure, maybe everything else, you know, she went and was on her own on the other side of the beach in her own little kind of group. On the other event, she was like, I'm just having fun. I'm just doing this. And then that event, I really saw a difference. Or Alfie Hart, the cameraman, was telling me he noticed a difference with her doing her own thing in Silt. And that's pressure, you know, different things are at play and you tighten up. That's happened to me before in the past. So anyway, just thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, it is interesting. Have you worked out, like in the men's and the women's, how many of the, you know, how many people are actually have a possibility to win the
I actually
championship?
I haven't, yeah. But it will be 4 events counting it for the men. And obviously you can gain 10,000 points for a win. So you've kind of got to expect that one of the other guys could win. And then it does change it. When you look at the results, it will be interesting. But I'm going to go more into that as we get closer to that Aloha Classic, because I think it's quite a big subject. I think we'll go into it. I'll work out some points of connotations and we'll kind of build through that. And there is some big news because I've heard Paul Van Bellen is going to Maui for the Aloha Classic.
Oh, that's right. I'm still in Geraldton as we speak, so let's believe it when I'm actually there. But I had an offer from the IWT to come over and do the drone side of things. I believe they've already got 1 or 2 drone pilots there, but they said, "Oh, it'd be cool to have you there, Paul." And I've never been to Maui. You know, I'm 47. I've been windsurfing since I was 10, 11, and you dream about it.
I didn't even
never
know
been. Never been to
just
Maui.
For the record, people who are just tuning in, me and Paul haven't been communicating as much. So we thought this podcast will be a bit of a catch up between me and him. So if I'm asking questions like, oh, really? It's because we started having a chat this morning, which went on for an hour. And then we were like, why don't we just do a podcast? There's some interesting shit coming out.
I know. We actually really should not talk before podcasts because
terrible.
Too much goes on. But yeah, so I mean, Maui, it's the marquee place. It's where you see all the magazines and photos and everything. So in a way, I actually feel like I've already been there with the amount of videos and photos and stories I've heard over the year. But anyway, it'll be super cool to go there. hopefully I can do a good job. You know, there's always a risk flying a drone. You know, things can happen. And also, of course, I hope we get some sick conditions because, yeah, I mean, we all want to see some bigger waves and, you know, more drama and more action. So, yeah, I'm leaving in about 6 days or so. And it is a bit of a mission to get from Geraldton to Maui because there's basically 4 sectors. I've got to get to Perth to Sydney, you know, Sydney to Oahu, Oahu to Maui. It's a bit of a mish, but anyway, it's going to be worth it. And yeah, I don't know. Like I'll have to. We'll do a bit of maybe we'll do a podcast from Maui as well.
Yeah,
and I can give you a bit of the local gossip.
To is, which actually I thought you made the Fiji event for me because I was sitting here, was your behind the scenes just roaming around doing your thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how possible that's going to be for you, but that was, I think I can speak for a few of my friends as well. We found it super interesting. And actually that for me made the event, like, because that gave me all the bits to understand, like everything. I thought it was really interesting.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I think in Fiji it was unique because everyone was staying in the same place. Whereas I guess in Maui, everybody, you know, they just, you know, will take off in different directions. But I will attempt to do something. I probably, you know, in Fiji, I went a bit crazy. At some point, I was releasing 2-3 videos a day and staying up to 3 a.m. at night and waking up at 7 a.m. in the morning for days on end and just ended up turning into a zombie. So I'll need to sort of pace myself a little bit more. But yeah, I'll try. But I will. I'll try to do it. The thing is, I'm on Maui for 15 days, and in that 15 days, I've got to film the event. I want to drive around the island. I want to do some sightseeing. I want to go windsurfing. I want to visit shops. I've got to do behind the scenes, and hopefully, I would absolutely, like my dream, my bucket list would be to try to get in contact with Polacao and make just one of my little casual interviewee videos. But I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to contact him, and he's elusive.
Me from here, just what I want as a windsurfing fan. I think your footage is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but I've seen so much footage from Maui. I would love you just to be going around legends' houses with your camera like you did with Richie Myers and just doing your thing.
Oh,
you know, this is super interesting. Like for me, anyway. Like
yeah.
And the same, you know, the same with the behind the scenes stuff. Like I think that's a bit we don't get to see. And again, it's the same for me when I'm at a competition. You know, I have to do the commentary, I have to do stuff, but I love the roaming around bit, just chatting to people and doing stuff, and it's quite interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. No, I'll try to do it. I'll see how I go. The other thing is with that Fiji behind the scenes, for anyone who watched it, when you're watching that, you know, you're sitting in the comfort of your home and you know, just enjoying whatever you're watching. For me, I turned up at that event. 80-90% of the people there I'd never met before. And they're obviously just sort of thinking, well, who's this guy? Why is he walking around with a camera? So I'm not only, like, you know, when you're in a new group of people and you're trying to just, well, yeah, but you know, like you're in say you turn up at a party, right? And the first thing you do before you say hello to anyone is rip a camera out and stick it in their face, like that. It was kind of awkward, you know. I mean, everyone was super cool after a few days once they understood what was going on. But not only was I trying to build rapport with people, I was doing it while I was holding a camera you know, and trying to get an authentic reaction sort of thing. So it wasn't super comfortable all the time, but you know, I'll do my best in Maui. I can't promise what's going to happen when I get there because I've got a feeling it's just going to be a manic 15 days.
It will be. If you're having to film the competition, it's going to be hectic. It's going to. Oh, it obviously depends on the forecast. You know?
Yeah. The forecast, I've been checking it daily for the last week. I mean, it is still, I mean, it's officially starting on the 20th, so it's still 9 days. But the first, it's kind of looking, I mean, right now, the first sort of 4 or 5 days isn't showing a hell of a lot on the forecast, but it's changing daily. So
apparently it's been a good season opener, apparently. I've been hearing.
Okay. Yeah.
What does that mean? It might have even already gone. Like, oh, shit.
Yeah, well, let's hope not. But the event's got a pretty long window. I think it finishes on the 2nd, if my memory serves me well. So fingers crossed, guys. Let's hope we get some sick conditions because it'd be awesome to try and get some good shots. Good shots there. Any tips for Maui, Benny? Or
I've got a few good stories from Maui, but my Maui experience was, I think I've told this before on the podcast, but I went over there with a few friends. One of them's like you, dreamed to go to Maui, had it as like this place where everything is just the best and it's going to change his whole life. And he got there and he was so disappointed because
really?
Well, you know what I mean? Like,
of course, you build it up.
You get in the UK, when you go to Ireland or something like this, you get down the line, there are really long waves, it cleans, not many people. It's like, that's actually the dream, what you realize. And Maui has got that. Hookkeeper is the dream. And on its day, these other spots can be good. But I was the same. I thought Spreckelsville was this kind of perfect kind of reef breaks, going to be just, and you got there and it was like a south coast, bad day on the south coast of England, but it's warm, obviously. But when your expectation, if you go there with low expectation, like amazing, it's windy, it's warm, there's a bit of waves around, it's all good. But if you go there expecting like Mauritius, like just one eye peeling down the wave, and it isn't like that. Hookkeeper can be, and lower Kanaha and upper Kanaha can be on a swell. But when there's a small day, the Kanaha doesn't really work. Specs is like choppy, and then it's only Hookkeeper, which is full of like the best guys in the world. And back then, I was definitely not one of the best guys in the world. I had one mast. I was shitting myself. I thought I was going to break it every run. And he actually gave up and took up kite surfing, and that was it. But I lost him. He did like buy a car. He was going to live in his car and become a professional windsurfer. Basically, that was his dream. And then he got there, and then he did buy a car, but he ended up selling his windsurfing kit, buying a kite, buying a surfboard, put his surfboard under the car first day, and then got up in the morning, forgot, and then drove over his surfboard. So he was having a bad one. He did become British kite surfing champion, but. It was a shame. But Maui is amazing. Don't get me wrong; it's amazing. It just depends on your because we've got so many thoughts of what it should be like and what it is like. I think that already changes things. Whereas now, I think maybe we're better tooled because this was 25 years ago. We just saw pictures, a couple of pictures here and a couple of nice videos. Now we kind of see everything, I think, and you get a much better idea of how places really are. It's rare you get shocked these days when you go somewhere because you've done all the research before you go. It's like, it's a bit bigger than I thought, or it's a bit smaller than I thought. But mostly it's
and also, well, because I'm going now, I've taken a more of an interest in the forecast, and it's interesting when you watch the forecast because there's plenty of days where there's no swell or even lighter winds for that matter as well. I've noticed, so it's. It obviously comes in bumps, doesn't it? Sometimes it swells. Yeah, which is obvious.
You will have a shock sailing Hookkeeper for the first time. Honestly, it is scary.
Yeah.
Honestly, and people go, "Oh,
really?
Shut up!" I'm like, for me, I was absolutely petrified, and I don't mind admitting it. It was like 25 years ago. Like I said, I had one mast. I was sponsored by Arrows. It wasn't skinny mast back then, big mast. And my first day there, again, I probably told this story before, but I watched the guys. Like this was Goya, Policao. I saw Sam Island break his mast, his board, his boom in one piece. Like it was like massive, closing out, and they were just coming up the rocks like it was if it was nothing. Then going around, getting more gear, going back out, and I was just like, "What the what's going on here?" Like it was crazy, like crazy. So it put me off. And then when I did sail it for the first time, which I didn't even sail it that year because we went at a time of year we had swell all the time with that. It was massive. And Kanaha was working really well. And that was like a really fun wave for me at the time. And then it wasn't until the next time I went to Maui, I sailed it. And if you sail it with light winds, I went out on a 5-3 when it was like 4-0 weather because I didn't want to get stuck. And it was like they say, all you do is you go off the beach and it's shallow. Like you can hit the fins even off the beach. People don't say that, and it's sharp reef. Like okay. Like, you don't see it.
Yeah, that's super easy.
No tide, it's shallow, And then they're like,
Yep.
well, don't go straight out. If you go straight out, you get hit by a wave, you get washed straight over the rocks. If there's a set, there's no wind. Or you go out thinking you're good, and then as you get to the sort of break, all the current goes to the left, so you lose all the power in your sail, and that's when you've got to navigate the swells and people coming in. So what the best thing to do is kind of you just go straight out, and they say just go straight as far downwind next to the rocks as you can, because then when you fall off, it's like a river. It washes you past the rocks, and then that current stops, and then that's where the channel is, in between lanes, which is further down, and who keep it, and you sail out through the channel. And this is, even if you fall off right next to the rocks at a certain point, you kind of get washed past them. But you've kind of got to swim a little bit to save you moving back a couple of meters. It sounds ridiculous, but when you get there, it will be super interesting to hear your first session. You should go for first session at Hoopkeeper.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I'll try and do that, because I am I don't sail on that tack. I don't sail on starboard tack. In Australia, especially on the East Coast where I was living, and now in Geraldton, it's all port tack. So it's
oh shit, yes, that was the same for me when I sailed Maui for the first time. I never sailed it, and the one thing I'll give you one really good tip, which this was a long time ago, but I couldn't wave ride. I was like, what's going on? I was like, what is going on? And I watched Baptiste Goussin from France at Spreckelsville. I was like, what is he doing that I'm not doing? And I'm not joking. All it was when he was like bottom turn, he was moving his hand back and then moving his hand forward just to open the sail and put the sail. And this honestly changed my wave riding at the time. And I did it on the other hand. I just didn't realize I was doing it. Like, you put your hand down to drive, and then as you come off the top, you put your hand forward to open the sail, and just moving that makes the board way more loose. It makes everything way more like fun and flowing. And this is like, I mean, obviously people teach this all the time, but sometimes you might know it, but you don't realize you're not doing it. So just be conscious of moving your hand, because if you don't move it, everything gets very stiff and it doesn't feel like it flows. As soon as you move it, everything comes looser.
It's funny you should say that, because a couple of days ago I was filming Jaeger out at Corros, and I've been watching a lot of the footage today. And it's amazing when you watch him sail, because I've noticed myself, bottom turn, you go, I'll move my rear hand down a bit, but it's nowhere near far enough. Like, you watch Jaeger, he basically sets up for the bottom turn and literally has his rear hand probably 2 inches from the boom clip.
Yeah,
his bottom. I mean, admittedly, it's like cross on, so you have to really open up the sail a lot. But it's so interesting watching him, because you really reach. Because also when you're reaching down, you're just putting your body in a much better position. You're opening yourself up and twisting. You're getting that twist in the body, and it's a funny one. Yeah, that whole just also move your
as
hand
you're reaching
down
is like surfing. You're moving the top of your body, and then your rest follows. And the same when you move it forward, you're moving your hands, like same in surfing. When you move your top half of your body first, then the board follows. So the more aggressive you are with the top of your body, again, same in surfing, the board's more movement. And I just read someone saying, that's old news. And it is old news. And that's what I'm saying. It's not that people don't know it. It's just you don't think about it when it's happening. Because you're just totally thinking of the wave, and you're not thinking, And if you slow everything down and start working it, you start to go, okay, because you're just not used to it. It's that's what I found out again a long time ago, but it made a huge difference for me. Yeah,
and also the thing is, it's old news, but you think you're doing it right until you actually see footage of yourself, and then you realize, hold on, I need to, over exaggerate this, because I do anyway. I can't speak for anyone else, but
no.
It's a
when we're doing the coaching clinics, over exaggerate things, because then you really get an idea of what it's doing. If you're going to move your mass track, move it a lot just to see if you can feel the difference, and then come back to moving it a little. If you're going to make longer lines, make them really fucking long. Excuse my language. Won't be like that much language on the new channel. I'm just hammering the comments, because we won't be doing, if you're just tuned in, because we have got more people viewing now, we won't be doing any more podcasts on this channel. There is a new channel. It's called Windsurfing Podcast. at Windsurfing Podcast. Put that into the search engine on YouTube and you will find the new channel. Follow that. We do have now a whopping, wait for it, 34 subscribers. And there are 130 people.
That's not bad.
There's 130 people watching. How have we only got 30?
It's pretty good.
And 130 people are watching.
They'll do it later, Benny. They'll do it later.
We need every viewer. Otherwise, we're literally going to have 34 subscribers because we know the podcast channel is not going to be massive, but it's going to be hardcore. It's going to be hardcore for the people. Again, Matt Cheprikowski, I spoke to him the other day. He's keen to come back, but he costs the big bucks. So I've got to, allocate some funds depending on who he brings.
You're actually paying him.
Well, that's what we're in negotiations at the moment. He said, money. I was like, all right, perfect. No, but it is a bit of effort when you have to prep for a big interview, allocate your time and all this stuff. I know it isn't easy, so we've got to negotiate. I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm very cheap, and you are obviously pretty cheap.
But budget, I'm super cheap, aren't I? There's a question here from Martin. It says, Paul, are you getting North Shore accommodation? There's actually a funny story with this, which I'll share with you. But obviously, I've been pumping out YouTube videos for the last 6, 7, 8 years. And sometimes when I've been doing it as a labor of love, I love windsurfing and it's like a creative hobby, my hobby. But there has been times where I've just been going, I am putting so much effort into this. Why do I do this sometimes? So, you know what I mean? Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming with the amount of effort you put in. But every now and then you get something, something happens and you think, oh, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. Obviously going to Maui to film the Aloha is one example. I wouldn't be doing that if I didn't start the YouTube channel. But another one was, going to Maui is obviously incredibly expensive, accommodation and the whole thing. And I didn't particularly want to spend a lot of money going there. I've got enough bills going on at the moment. But through a YouTube channel, I had a Australian guy who reached out to me, I don't know, about a year ago, 18 months. I can't exactly remember. And, I sometimes get positive messages from people. Oh, good on you, Paul. I watch your videos, good on you. Well done. And da-da-da-da. Anyway, he was super friendly. And I guess we sort of struck up a bit of a friendship. I had the messages back and forth. He's a fellow Australian. I said, oh, where do you live? And blah, 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 blah. Turns out, he spends half his year in Maui. He's got a house in Maui. And he said, oh, if you ever come to Maui, be my guest, stay at my house. I was like, oh, that's amazing. Thanks, man. Thank you so much. I don't know when, he said that, I don't know, 6, 9 months ago, whatever. So I'm not sure when I'm coming to Maui, but I'll definitely keep it in mind. Well, now here we are. The Aloha is happening. I've got an invitation to film there. So I reach out to him. I won't give his name just in case.
He said piss off. Huh? He said he's changed his mind.
Oh, yeah, he ghosted me. No. But basically, I sent him a message. I said, look, I actually am now coming to Maui. Is that offer still on the table? And he just responds with a photo. He responds with a photo and goes, here's your bedroom. There it is. And it's just this amazing room, beautiful room.
Sick.
And this all it's just beautiful room. And then he sends another photo of the front yard. All right. The front yard is in Spreckelsville, where you literally just walk off the yard into the water. You rig up in his.
That's a sick spot.
You rig up on his front lawn and just sail off into the sunset or wherever direction the sun rises or falls.
Where is he at? Camp 1 or Sprecks?
Spreckelsville, I think. Yeah. So, and look, essentially he has an absolutely beautiful house right there, which, as we all know, probably costs an absolute fortune now. But anyway, that was one benefit I've had by putting all this effort in through YouTube, is making a connection like that and him allowing me to stay at his house. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm honored, absolutely honored. And he's a super nice guy. I think what happens sometimes too is that people can see, it's like you, Ben, people can see the effort that you're putting into things, and they're appreciative. So they're obviously giving you beer money, or they, help out in some way they can. Or for this guy, he thought, well, Paul's putting his effort in, and I'll offer him my room to help him. I mean, that's how I see it.
Yeah, but that's,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
That's like one of the, if you've got that, that's amazing, because you will get a lot of sailing in then, because Sprex, as I said earlier, it wasn't what I was expecting on a bad day, but on a good day, it's super fun. It's got great jumping. It's got a little wave, which actually, you know, the parking got all really terrible for ages. So you don't even have to park anymore. So it is like a really fun spot. I remember growing up watching the videos of Robbie Seeger coming in, doing big one-handed spots in the little lagoon bit next to the beach. I don't know if anyone remembers that. But my first year to Maui, we actually stayed in Camp 1. And I had no expectations. Like I said, I didn't really know where Camp 1 was or whatever. And it turns out we stayed in one of Josh Stone's apartments, what he owned later. And we got this last-minute deal. And I was paying like $15 a night, which is nothing. I mean, if it was now $15, I mean, now it's a fortune. But we could, again, walk from, we couldn't see the sea because it was like there was a house in front. But you just walk down this little alleyway at Camp 1 and we had the water. So we'd leave like the sails rigged in the garden. And I was like into freestyle back then. It was like 2001, sponsored by Neil Pride JP. Had my Neil Pride core sail and this like 78-liter waveboard. And I was just practicing grubbies every day because that was the move to learn at that time. And I, you know, as someone at that age, which I wasn't young, but I was young for me in terms of windsurfing, wave sailing, freestyle, I was like 20s, mid-20s. I was like so keen to learn moves, and it was an epic. Apart from it's friggin' shallow, Camp 1, and there was rocks everywhere. So you have to be careful where you're doing your stuff, especially at low tide. It's quite.
So where's Camp 1 in relation to?
So basically, let's go from Hookeeper, which is like the most. I don't know if it's north, is it? So it's I'm actually Hookeeper's at the top, and then then you've got Lanes, which is next to Hookeeper. Then the next one down is like Mama's Fish House, which is where you can sail there, and then there's kind of like a big one, a big jump when you go past Paia. So you don't really sail there. And then the next kind of sailable beach is like Baby Bay, which is just upwind of Sprex. And then you've got Sprex, and then Camp 1, and then Kanaha. That's my like non-locals version of my Maui. Okay, so yeah, it's not north, it's right. Yeah, so there you go.
Hold on. This will be easier for everyone to understand.
If anyone is, I'm just so I had a question before. All the other stuff is staying the same. So the Spotify and all this stuff will stay the same. If you are just tuning in, we are starting a new podcast channel, and we'll be doing Windsurfing.TV will have like snippets from the podcast, but the podcast itself will be on a new channel, Windsurfing Podcast on YouTube. Just put at Windsurfing Podcast, all one word, in the search, and you'll find it, because there's only one video on there at the moment. We're going to re-upload all the podcasts, and then all the live ones from now on will be there. But that's okay. So we've got a map of Maui here. So yeah, you can see Hookeeper Beach Park, far right, up there. And then next one down, like there's obviously Lanes, which is the other side of Hookeeper. There's just there's just a channel in between the two. One's a left, which is Lanes. You know, it goes the opposite way to the wind, but it's good for jumping. And when it's big, port back. Yeah.
Lanes here, yeah?
That top bit there off that reef. And then Hookeeper, obviously on the other side. And then Mama's Fish House, which is Kuau. People call it Kuau. Some people call it Mama's Fish House. You know, you can sail around the back of Kuau.
Okay. So if I can just butt in. So sorry. So you can sail where? Here or here? Or?
Sounds weird. Yeah, it's further down. It's
I see.
It's at the back.
Around here.
I'll be honest. I've never sailed there, but it's just I know where it is when I'm there. But on a map, it looks weird. Okay. It's just on the back of Mama's Fish House. See where Kuau store is? You park on that bit that sticks out behind Mama's Fish House, and then there's a little. If you zoom in, you'll see there's like. It's not like a massively well-known spot, and you have to swim out through a keyhole. So it's not for everybody. Maybe even talking about it is not a good thing. So I'll probably get in trouble. But it's just not secret. It's just not easy because you can't park. There's lots of, it's really bad. You can't park out someone's house. So there's limited parking, and you shouldn't really park. So it's if you live there, that's kind of why it's such a sort of empty spot. Yeah. But, people do sail there. So I've got to mention it, I guess. Otherwise, someone will say, oh, you missed this place. And then kind of in my sailing days, again, maybe other people have got it, but Paia Bay is like a bit surfy. There's not really windsurfing on often. The next one down, like there's like a surf beach break thing where you just surf, body surf or whatever. It's pretty crap. But and then go further down, and then you got like Baby Beach. This is like a non-local, non-Maui person explaining it. I'm probably like, everyone's like, shut up. Yeah, Baby Beach. See, this can be really fun. Horrible launch, like horrible rocks, like red mud on the beach. But they do a lot of the photo shoots there because the scenery looks good, even though it's awkward, and you can do some jumping. And there's no one sails there because it's so hard to get in.
Well, can you launch, say, here? This looks all sandy over here.
The reef. No? There's a reef. You can't really sail it. So you basically launch right off the point on the left. Yeah, there on the left.
Yeah.
You basically climb off these rocks on the left. Keep going left a bit. There.
Oh, I see. So you're sailing this little...
Yeah, you're sailing that little bit. Again, is it a well-known spot? No. Why is it not a well-known spot? Because it's just such a horrible launch and getting back in is a nightmare. So, but it's good for pictures.
That's interesting. I've never heard of Baby Beach there. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm telling all the secrets here, but I don't think it's a secret. It's just most of these spots that aren't busy, it's not because no one knows about them. It's just because they're not easily accessible, you know.
No, fair enough. Okay. All right, and next spot.
And then Sprecks. There's a little bit, there's called Sugar Cove, which might be where your house is, if I'm honest. Is it? Or was he at Sprecks?
Yeah, it's well, I won't divulge the exact location, but it's in this area. Where is it?
Yeah, it's in this Robbie Nash sailed from there and stuff. And again, you can sail kind of upwind of Sprecks, not many people, and then normal Sprecks Beach is further down, like there. You can see the car park. It's kind of a weird drive in. I don't know what it looks like now. I haven't been to Maui for so long.
Oh, is this the car park you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember watching all those videos from the 90s, you know, Neil Pride and all those, you know, there's a lot of imagery, you know, where they're sitting in that car park or, you know, like rigging up in.
There's like there was a famous tree. There was a famous like tree where everyone got pictures sitting on this tree or next to the tree. Is what I always remember.
Oh, I see.
Oh, hello. So hang on. Thanks, Paul, Mr. Van Bellen. We have a super chat. Ooh.
What happened? Oh, okay. I can't see. Oh, wow.
There we go. Thanks very much.
Good on you.
12 eurons.
There you go.
That's what we like to see.
We can eat today.
You're living it up in Spreckelsville, mate.
Oh, mate, I'm telling you what, I think I'm almost as much excited about going there than just to Keepers.
Yeah.
So where's Camp 1 in relation to?
Go further down, like the next reef. See where those houses are.
Oh, here?
Yeah, there. So that's Camp 1. But like when we used to go there would be like Jimmy Diaz was living there and a few others, but there was a few like people who didn't like windsurfers, and there was like big signs saying "Wind Kooks, go home, wind kook," and all this stuff. And there was a bit of, because it was like there's a few houses there, and people would go in there to sail because there's obviously this reef. It's super shallow, but it can be fun jumping. So quite a few people go in there, but it's not. You have to walk through the houses, and there is some access. I don't know how it is now, or how it is if you're allowed to sail there. Maybe you're not, maybe you are, I don't know. I mean, I'm talking years ago, so if any of this is wrong, please feel free to correct me. And then basically the next one down, you can sail anywhere on this next bit, but the next car park down, you have to go all the way around the airport, because the airport is at the back of Kanaha. So there's the airport.
So you got to go all the way around here.
Camp 1, it's the quickest way to get that action without going around the airport. But most people will drive around the airport to Kanaha, and then you can sail sort of lower Kanaha, which needs a good swell to work, but it's a fun, easy, peeling wave. I actually really liked it because it's kind of non-consequential. When it's big, it can be, but it's not as consequential as, let's say, Hookeeper. You know, you're not going to end up on any rocks because the reef is further out to sea. And then you've got Upper Kanaha, which picks up small swell. So you can go up there if there's not much swell. And when it's big, there's actually a really nice wave up there, but it's quite far offshore.
So when you're talking about sailing Kanaha, is it like you're talking about just here?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's Upper Kanaha and Lower Kanaha.
So where's upper and which is upper and lower?
Let me just work out where you are. Because there's all the kiters go south of the car park. I mean, it's next to the airport, Kanaha. You literally drive Yeah, it's like say Winged Beach.
Is this Upper Kanaha here? Is it?
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, yeah, and then Lower Kanaha down that bottom end. Upper Kanaha could be even up there. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. That's good. It's good that you explain all this.
But if there's a good swell, it is worth sailing like Lower Kanaha. Like if it's big at Hookkeeper, like you will have a fun sail there, especially if you haven't sailed much starboard tack and you need a bit of time to get into it, because you can get so many turns and it isn't, crazy, but it's punchy. When it's big, it gets pretty punchy. But it's just an easy sail. It's just an easy sail with no consequences of ending up on rocks.
And so basically in Maui, 98% of the sailing, obviously there's jaws and there's La Perus and all this sort of thing. But basically, when you think about Maui sailing, it's really between here and Hookkeeper.
Yeah.
That's the stretch.
You could go over the other side like Kihei.
Sure, yeah.
But in terms of North Shore,
for waves,
that's where that's your kind of beaches, and that's where you go between. It's like Hookkeeper is like if you're not good or you're learning Hookkeeper, you're only going to go if it's windy and small, because it is quite, for want of a better word, terrifying. Really, it's quite intimidating. And people will laugh at me if they're at a good level and they sail it all the time. But I can still remember how I felt as a kind of someone getting into wave sailing. And that it will be the feeling a lot of people have. It's really intimidating. You've got all the best guys in the world, so they're all amazing. They're all just jumping on, no problems. And you have got a whole different experience to them, and how you view the whole place. Because you've got all these rocks, which if you mess up, you feel like you're going to end up on them. And it's shallow. And then to get back to the beach, if the wind shuts off, there's not really any easy access. If you break a mast and you miss the kind of swimming in, because there's big currents going around. So if you miss the beach, you end up getting sucked upwind towards pavilions, which is like the surf break. And then you kind of go around this circle. And if you miss the beach on the other side, you go past the rocks full speed, like in this river, to lanes. And then you're like, the next beach down is Kite Beach, which is, not far swim, but it's got all reef and there's like urchins and all this sort of stuff. So it's not somewhere you want to come in at. Which is, it's the lanes car park, which is Kite Beach. It looks easy on the map. You're like, you just come in here. But there's a big
no. It doesn't look easy.
Reef shelf. And it's a sandy beach.
But look at all this. It's just all rocky.
No, there's
reef.
A sandy beach. Carry on. There. You think, just coming up that nice sandy beach. But that sandy beach has got this massive big slab right in front of it. And I can see it. It's horrible. It's horrible.
It looks very shallow. You have to just walk across it. This is always something. I mean, this may. So the arrow goes this way. Booties. Yeah. Not this. So to enter the car park, you actually. Do you enter it? Oh, you enter it into here.
Yeah, it's like
can you get into the?
System. You drive. If you're coming from Paia, from down Paia, and you're going past it, you get to see all of Hookkeeper. You drive past it, and then you turn in, which is where you are on the map there. And then as you turn in, you go down the hill past Pavilions, which Pavilions was like pretty hardcore. If you had a windsurf on your roof, you were getting some abuse. When I first went there, when we drive through there, from all these local dudes who just surf, jeering you almost. And then that's all the surfing bit. It's all changed a bit now. And then as you come down, then you've got like the lower car park, which you can turn into and park down the bottom end, or you can kind of park along the road bit, which is like the guardrail. And then you can just sit on that guardrail and just slag off people, look at him, and not go sailing and drive off. That's something. One thing has to be said, Hookkeeper has got one of the best viewing platforms. You've got world-class windsurfers, or people who think they're world-class windsurfers getting smashed, or world-class windsurfers executing amazing waves, or people doing it for the first time, whatever. You can sit on the hill at Hookkeeper and you have like front row seats, it's like VIP style seating. You just sit on the hill and just watch. And that is full Windsurfing TV. Like if you've never been to Hookkeeper, anyone who's been to Hookkeeper, it's a good day. You don't want to go sailing straight away because you've never sailed there. You want to watch. You could watch all day. It never gets boring. There's always some sort of, or when I used to go, because I used to go when the photo shoot time of year. So it would be a circus that's what the locals call it. Oh, there's circuses in town. But for me as a, coming in, watching, it was amazing. But to be on the water compared to usual, I guess it was super busy and everyone's fighting for waves. And that could be a thing for you. You should, like, after your Whokeeper experience, you should try and name and shame some wave snakes, because there will be some.
And then I'll
create a chart or something.
I'll never be a welcome back again. Just a once-off trip. Actually,
you only tell the truth.
Yeah. No, look, I'll do my best to report what I see. This just tell me. You mentioned about getting out here, and a few people may have joined the podcast since you spoke about it. But you reckon the best way to get off the beach here is more towards this end of the beach and just sort of hug the coast a bit down here? It
depends on conditions. If it's windy and small, doesn't matter. Like if it's windy and small, whatever,
Yeah, but just chugging through.
I advise people for your first trip, because it is different viewing. When you view it from the beach and the hill, it's different from viewing it on the water. So when you first go to Whokeeper, again, I'm not talking about guys who are at an amazing level. You do what you want. But I'm talking about guys my sort of level when I first went there. I could wave sail, but I was a bit like, ooh. I went on a bigger sail than everyone else, or a bigger board or whatever, and guaranteed planing, so I could just get out there and suss the place out. Because as soon as you go out on the water and you tack around when you're out the back or whatever, you look back at the beach and it looks like, you're like, oh my God, because you don't know, it's quite a powerful wave, even when it's small. And there's certain parts of the break that punch up. There's certain parts that back off when you think they're going to punch up. So you kind of got to suss it out. You work out where the channel is. Again, this is coming from someone who doesn't live there. My first experience, this is what I did, and it worked really well for me. And then there's a thing they call the end bowl, which is the last part of the reef is where this end bowl kind of peaks up. And you can literally ride the end bowl, or just make all your stuff about the end bowl and have loads of fun hitting it. You fall off there, you can't end up on the rocks unless it's a really south swell or whatever the swell is, where it pushes you upwind. But like most of the time, you can hit that, fall off, and you'll get pushed past the rocks. You never end up on it. So that was always, when I first went there, I was like trying to get into it.
Yeah. No, it's
I don't know.
It sounds, you're scaring me, Benny, with all these stories.
But again, you just need to know those things.
Like, I'm only kidding.
What you need to do is, if it's light, which is sometimes when the best waves are, you're kind of, and also back in the day, don't forget, we were riding much smaller boards. It was like, it wasn't normal to have a massive board. Like if you rode 20, 10, 15 liters bigger than yourself, it just wasn't normal. Yeah. See, that's a small day. When it's like that, there's no real problems. But weirdly, you still can end up if you get a light patch. But if it's windy and small, it's not a problem. All the rocks are on the left. You can kind of sail straight out from the beach. But you see where those guys are about to hit the wave on that picture on the right? That's what you can end up. You sail out full speed, you stop there, a set comes, and that is very small for Whokeeper. Usually they don't get much smaller than logo high. Usually it's like there's always some crazy set comes through, even if it's tiny. And you have to be careful on that bit, because if you get smashed there and you get pushed down into the middle bit, then you kind of, the next sort of waves can get you if there's not much wind, because you can't water start because there's not much wind, and you get highways.
God, it's quite interesting, isn't it? See this person down here trying to swim their rig away from the rocks.
Okay, see the rocks there. Once you're this side of the rocks, the current, you can get into the beach. It's fine. As soon as you go past that rock at the end, as soon as you go past there, it's like a river. Like you don't swim upwind after that. You want to swim out, because every wave will push you back a bit. You're not going to make much ground, but sometimes like 50 centimeters, a meter further out, will save you getting washed a bit by one wave on the rocks. And it doesn't matter. You just have to keep yourself off the rocks, because the current will do the rest. You don't need to swim downwind. You just need to swim out a bit, and the current will just, you look round at some points and you're just moving so fast past the beach. It's crazy.
Yeah, wow. even on the small days, is the current moving quick, or is it just more? It gets
obviously not as much. Not as
yeah,
much.
yeah. Okay, so it's pretty like basically on a day like that, it obviously looks super mellow.
Yeah,
it's just
that's
obviously
fine.
yeah.
If it's small
Yeah,
like that,
yeah,
you'll go in autumn time, where there can be some pretty decent
Oh, I
swell.
know. Yeah, yeah. Look, I'll be honest. If it's going to be massive, the thing is, while I'm there, I'm there mainly while the competition's happening. So if it's going to be a big day, chances are it'll be on a competition day, and I'll be filming anyway. So, yeah, no, I'll see what I get.
Okay,
cool.
well, yeah, there's a couple of tips coming through. Actually, Benoit said the opposite. What unlocked it for me at Hookkeeper was rigging smaller. It made it so much easier to head downwind. And that's the thing. When you're going past the rocks to head downwind, you've got to go downwind. So awkward position. And the easiest route is to sail out. But by going downwind and making 5-10 meters extra downwind, when you do get inevitably the wind drops and you get in that current, you already passed the rocks. So sailing out can sometimes feel way, way easier, but it's not always the right option. But yeah, rigging smaller, it depends on the wind. Like, I'm not saying if it's windy, just rig what you would rig to go planing. It's fine. But if it's light and there's the odd gust, you want to have a bit of pressure in your sail because it can be super light.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm used to a lot of float and riding, so I actually like float and ride conditions. So I think I'm pretty comfortable with that.
You remember that thought?
Well, as long as I got a floaty enough board, it was fine. Yeah. No. All right. Well,
It'll be fine. That'll be good. I'm really interested to hear your side of it. I think it'll be really good you going there. I just hope you have enough time, because I would like you to go without the competition, if I'm honest.
Oh, I know.
It would be maybe they'd even benefit more from getting you to do all that stuff, because I think it's not really been done like a kind of real behind the scenes Maui. You know what I mean? Sounds weird, but not that
I guess. I remember last year, Sarah from PWA did a pretty good job with Insta clips and things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, like a video YouTube where you sit down and you watch it.
Yeah.
Definitely worth. It's probably worth a revisit, even if it has been done before, with all the drone stuff now and arrows, and maybe we should try and.
No. Oh, look,
we had a drone pilot going to Maui.
I'll definitely try and do it. It's hard for me when I'm sitting here knowing exactly what's going to happen when I get there, because it's just going to be there's going to be a lot going on. So I'll just try. I'm sure. Yeah. But I'll do my best.
Vino, that's a good name, Vino. Tech question. He says last year they had issues with the live streaming. Is it going to be sorted this year, Paul?
Well, I'm not responsible for it, so don't blame me if it goes to shit. But no, I did ask the question. Apparently, last year they used someone that wasn't maybe as experienced as they should have been. They had some problems with the internet connection. I think they may or may not have had a Starlink that was working. Not exactly sure. But for this year,
it's for every day this year, isn't it? Because last year the problem was it wasn't. They had to, because of budgets, they had to, shorten the amount of time it was allocated. So they said, obviously before the event, they were like, well, we probably won't need it the last day. We should all be finished by then. And then typically in all normal windsurfing event fashion, the last day turns out to be the day, and then obviously didn't happen. But you're right, there was a few jumping issues, but hopefully that's all sorted. And just for the record, I'm not going. In case you're wondering, I am not going to Maui this year. It will be Kai Catch Dorian and co doing the IWT PWA event over there, as it is more or less an IWT thing, the Aloha Classic, I guess. That's how you.
Yeah, and also just following on from what I was saying is that this year they've got a different guy who apparently is the most experienced live stream sport guy in Maui. Okay. So I don't know, don't blame me if it ends up going all downhill, but I obviously hope that it's going to be a good broadcast, because when you're watching the Aloha, that's what you want to see, isn't it? And
Paul, we've got an update. 61 subscribers to the new
Wow.
podcasting channel.
That's pretty good.
Well, we've got 134 people listening. How have we only got 64 subscribers?
I don't know. Maybe they're just they're happy to see this as the last one, and that'll be it.
They're tuning in just a bit. See you later.
Martin's asking, will Jaeger be competing? No, Jaeger's not going. In fact, Jaeger is about to be a dad.
I saw that. Saw that. Daddy Stone. Daddy Stone.
Baby due in I think it's 2 or 3 weeks.
What is it? Do we know?
No, he doesn't know actually. He's keeping a surprise. Yeah, he's going to do one of those massive gender reveals, with G-Wagons and stuff.
Is that when Vern send him blue sails or pink sails? And it's like, oh shit, I got pink sails to use.
Yeah. No, he doesn't know. But so Jaeger's he'll have his hands full then. But maybe I'm not sure if it's going to happen. I'm leaving Geraldine on Wednesday, but of course, as the windsurf gods have it, on Tuesday there's an absolute amazing forecast here up north at Nalu, and Jaeger and I were thinking of going up there, and I like probably pretty much apart from going to Maui, I'd say equally my top bucket list is to film Jaeger in 8 to 10 foot Nalu. That would be sick because he's so good, and so I'm itching to go up there, and it's happening on the day before I'm leaving because it's from Geraldine. It's a 6
and you're going to go the day before you're leaving. I've done that drive.
Well,
it's massive.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, 6 or 7 hours drive up there and 6 or 7 hours drive back, and to try to do all that.
The airport.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm driving from here to Perth, which is 5 hours. Yeah, I know. So by the time I get to Maui, and then you want me to do all this filming and behind the scenes, I'll be absolutely wrecked probably. But no, it'll be fine. No, I'll just be running on adrenaline. We'll see. Yeah, exactly. So no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'll see. There's much worse things you could be doing.
Just out of interest, do you speak to Jaeger much? Is he? Yeah. Are we going to see him doing any competitions, or is he just happy being a dad, doing a fireman thing, and just ripping in his own backyard?
Well, first I'll say he absolutely loves windsurfing. That's one thing I've realized getting to know him a bit more. He just loves windsurfing, which is it's so cool to see because we all love windsurfing, but you sometimes think, oh, what happens to these guys? Do they kind of lose the love or something? Or, but he loves it. And as far as competitions, I think he, living in WA, you generally get good conditions. And I think he was, not loving traveling to around the world, sometimes going to a comp where the conditions were crap and spending all that money and time. As we all know, being a professional windsurfer is not the best paying job in the world. You end up paying a lot of it out of your own pocket. And he was getting to an age where he's got to get on with his life. He's got a mortgage now. He's got a partner. He wants to have a kid. So you need stable income, but as far as competitions, he has told me that he would like to do a, like one of the cool down the line events like Chile, or if Fiji happens. Obviously, I think Port Tack, down the line is his probably specialty. Not that you can still shred on the other tack, but I guess if he had his choice, it'd be a Chile or a Fiji. Event.
Can you imagine being in the like the hunt for the world title and Jaeger turns up and he's on your side of the draw, because that is the ultimate wild card. You be like, oh my god, this guy can win this thing, and then never do any other competitions the whole year, ruin some dreams, come in, smash, like, because he's still got the skills, like you say, he's got good conditions on the doorstep. As far as I know, he was obviously a physiotherapist, did all the training, whatever, but now he's a fireman, and the firemen do get quite a bit of time off, don't they? So I'm sure he's windsurfing quite a chunk. Yeah.
Well, whenever there's wind and waves, he's out there. And that's the other thing that I've loved. I've moved to Geraldine. I'm from Sydney originally, which is not, it used to be a bit of a hub for windsurfing back in the day, but obviously most of it's happening now on the West Coast, and it's an absolute pleasure and honor to go to your local windsurf spot and be sailing with one of the world's best windsurfers. Like it's really, it's super cool. Like it's you're sailing along, and you look over, you just look 5 meters behind you, and you look up in the air, and Jaeger's 10 meters up in the air, mid back loop or something. Like it's so cool. As a windsurfer, there's nothing better, is it? It's cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
Sure.
Yeah. So no, but anyway, hopefully he'll we'll see him at a comp again. Yeah.
Well, there's people asking about the Wave Rally. Oh yeah. Obviously, there's so much to talk about, which is why, if I haven't already mentioned it, we've got a new podcast channel, which all the new podcasts will be on this new channel. So if you are interested in the podcast, we know it's not going to be a lot, but we want the hardcore there, and the ones that subscribe want to watch podcasts and listen to podcasts. So yeah, get on that at Windsurfing Podcast on YouTube. Just put at Windsurfing Podcast, one word, into the search bar, and you'll see the channel. It looks very familiar, I'm sure. I think it's called Windsurfing.TV Podcast in the title. You'll see it. But yes, we're going to be talking about the Wave Rally. Let's touch on it quickly because entries are open. I think the Wave Rally is a full podcast on its own. I mean, there's
sure. Yeah. No, look, it's for anyone who doesn't know, I crazily decided to organize a windsurfing event, and which is happening from the 10th to 12th of January in Coronation Beach in Geraldton. Basically, it's a wave slalom style event, but the sort of interesting part is it's going to be limited to multi-fin boards and max 5 batten sails. So essentially, wave gear or free wavy kind of gear. Because in Geraldton, oops, my battery's about to die. Hold on. Sorry. In Geraldton at Coronation, when you go down there, that's what everyone sails on. So I'm, rather than tell everyone, well, you got to use different gear, obviously using the gear that everybody uses, and decided to do this event. Started the process in February, March, and had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had a rough idea, but full respect to anybody past and present who has organized a windsurfing event. When you see a windsurfing event, you see flags on the beach and people having a good time and sailors on the water, but God, there's a lot behind the scenes to make it happen. There's a lot, all the permits, insurances, dealing with sponsors. You name it, it goes on and on. There's just a lot behind the scenes, all the documents, the safety protocols, risk assessments, dealing with agencies. You have to prove, these, especially in Australia, I'm not sure wherever you are in the world, but in Australia, we love a bit of, everything being the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So you actually have to jump through quite a few hoops to make it happen. But it's also been a good process. I've learned a lot. And look, the entries are open. If you're coming to Geraldton or, at that time of year and you're interested, go onto Windsurfing Western Australia. That's the sort of, the windsurfing organization for this part of the world, and you can buy your entries there. I'm about to launch a website. There's a Facebook page. Get on there, Wave Rally, find it. I put all the updates there. So it's all going well. I decided to go to Maui, 4 days ago. So that has thrown a bit of a spanner in the works because I'm going to be away for 3 weeks now, which is pretty crucial time right now because I'm trying to organize lots of things. So when I get back from Maui, I'll just have to really put the pedal down and make sure everything's done. But anyway, it's going well, Ben. It's I think it's going to be fun. I mean, I don't know. You don't know. You do the best, don't you? You do the organization side of things, and when the event happens, you just hope for the best. It'll take a life of its own, I guess, on the day. Yeah. What do you think of the concept, Ben? I mean, you being involved in windsurf events. I mean, what do you think about that? Especially since it's like a wave view.
I like it, and I already know because we've obviously got Alfie and James Cocker on our WhatsApp group or whatever for the podcast, and they're already talking. I was speaking with Alfie, who's the cameraman for Windsurfing.TV and editing stuff when we do some stuff. He's going, fuck, I think we're going to just organize a local one just for fun.
Cool.
We're going to get 12 guys or 10 guys or whatever guys, and we're just going to do some fun kind of bump and jump racing, which is pretty much what it is. Beach start, a few little waves involved, no techie gear, just whatever you've got, and just put it together and just enjoy that kind of side of it. Like I was explaining, it's like the go-kart racing of windsurfing. That's kind of what you want to have, like where it's not super techie. You don't need a Formula One car. You just want something, or banger racing, whatever whatever that might be. It's the equivalent of just fun. And it will get serious. I've told you this. I've warned him. I'm like, when you have a race and there's a winner and a loser, you will get serious. Whatever it wants, people are competitive. It's not like, oh yeah, congratulations. It's like you're gonna.
But there's a bit of but you want a bit of competition because that also creates a bit of drama. It makes people get fired up. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself because I'll get through this event. But I've been putting a lot of resources into developing a website and all the back ends, and I was sort of thinking I wouldn't mind opening up the whole concept to anyone around the world that wants to join in. So, for example, this website is obviously Wave Rally. Like the website will be waverally.org, and it'll be primarily just to do with the Geraldine event. But, say, you guys want to do one over in England or wherever, then, you have Wave Rally England, So you go onto this. You go on the website and there could be a drop-down box and you just name your country, and then it could be like almost, I don't want to call it a franchise because I'm not talking about charging money, but you know what I mean, like a franchise.
Use the concept and use the name to be able to run your own event. Because one thing I've realized running an event is, there's a lot of money involved in developing logos, graphic design work, websites. So if everyone's doing their own event, they're all having to spend all this money on their own things, whereas if we can share those resources, it'll just be a hell of a lot more efficient, so anyway, like I said, we'll get through this event, and I'll just say I'm actually really curious on the response from the sailors. If it's super positive and everyone's like, yeah, this is sick, well, at that point, I might say, well, who else around the world wants to do something like that? And for this one, I've said it's multi-fin, but you might be in a world where a single fin is better because, I don't know, for whatever reason, that's what everybody uses. At Coronation, everyone uses multi-fin, so I'm just going with that. It doesn't have to be super strict. But the main thing is that I didn't want to turn it into a thing where, someone turns up on their wave board and the next guy rocks up on his latest slalom gear and just blows everyone out of the water. And you just go, well, what's the fun in that? I'm trying to. People will be working out what's the fastest way. But that's not a bad thing.
Well, that's the thing, Ben, because I think when you sail, people, you go on the websites and you go, oh, I want that down the line board, the sexy board from that manufacturer. But then when they're actually sailing at their conditions, it's onshore, it's sloppy waves, or they don't even have much waves, and they're on this like completely inappropriate board for the conditions. Yeah. So I'm sort of thinking that the wave rally thing will force people to rethink the type of boards. They go, I want something a bit faster, gets on the plane a bit earlier, and they'll probably find that board will be an awesome board to have in the quiver, or you know what I mean, like.
People start going back to the roots, which for me, the roots of windsurfing is blasting around and doing floaty jumps, and jibing. That's like, for me, we haven't, we, and again, I'm guilty of that on the channel. We haven't really focused on that type of sailing, but actually that was what got me into windsurfing, was that type of sailing. Blasting around on a lake, doing duck jives, doing 360s, doing chop hops off the, or jumps or floaty jumps, depending how big the wave was. That was always the fun thing, going fast, doing jumps. And sometimes you do forget that. And I think it's good to do it. Like I said, who knows where the wave rally concept's going to go? It's not a new concept, but it's invigorating an old concept. And again, Windsurfing.TV, if you guys are doing an event, even if it's a small one, if you get some footage, I can give you some airtime and help. Because that is why this channel is here. Some people forget, and I have this problem with some of the brands and everything. And they're like, well, what do we get? What advertising do we get? I'm like, well, the whole idea of Windsurfing TV has always been, since the very beginning, is to re-motivate the windsurfing scene, to put some life into it, put some energy into it, to help cover things that wouldn't get covered, to help put a community together, like just to keep that energy going. That's the whole reason. And if you've got a good brand, then in theory, having a good, healthy windsurfing scene, you will do okay. You know what I mean? Yep. And that's kind of where the whole concept comes from. And that's the same with, you know, you guys at home. I've got to say, massive thanks to everyone who's still putting in beer money, supporting the channel. I know we've done a lot of events this year. It wasn't the plan to do that many events. It's just kind of how it worked out. We will be coming back. Send It Sunday is going to be coming back up. We've got a few other things coming on. So yeah, just a massive thanks to everyone who is supporting the channel. And there is a rumor Starboard are going to come back and support the channel.
Oh,
Sven Rasmussen sent me an email the other day. He said, you know what, Ben, we've got to support you guys again. You're doing a great job. And I thought, you know what? That's very nice. So thank you.
That is super cool. And that's a good segue, because I wanted to just give a couple of shout outs while I can. One was to Starboard. With this event, a few people have reached out to me to offer their experience. I'm the new kid on the block, so to speak, especially when it comes to organizing events. There's a gentleman called Ian Fox, which some people might know. I mean, his name is on one of the Starboard models, I believe, isn't it? Is the Fox?
Starboard. Yeah, it was originally going to be a Starboard.
Sorry.
Make it, and then Severn made it, and it's actually been very popular.
Yeah, cool. So Ian Fox is an incredibly experienced person in the windsurf industry. And he reached out to me and said, Paul, he's the president of the Australian Windsurfing Association. And, you know, said, Paul, I see what you're doing here. I think it's awesome, bringing fresh energy in, and, you know, I want to support you. And he's been so good. He's a bit of a bulldog type of guy. He just like tells you, Paul, this is what you got to do, you know, A, B, C. And, you know, if I take a step wrong, he's a bit military, you know, what are you doing? Do that, you know. And I'm just like, oh shit, okay, yeah. But he's been seriously, it's good. I like that. It sort of cuts through all the bullshit. You just like do this. And anyway, Ian, if you're listening, legend. WWA is, you know, obviously helping a lot with the registration. The other one was Starboard, you know. So I'll just share this screen quickly, because someone wrote a question here. Would Wave Rally go on a forecast like Storm Chaser? Well, that would be cool, but yeah, it's very hard to all 100 odd people to all just rock up on a forecast, you know, or whatever, however many people do.
You know, like
what's that? Oh, or whatever. No. Sorry, but in this event, that's kind of the goal of that. But yeah, it's right. Or just anybody, you know, just to. But the thing is, what I thought was with windsurfing event, you really need to make it so no matter what the conditions and events running. I think the mistake, I mean, I don't know, my personal opinion is if you can only run a successful event with certain conditions, it's risky. You know, you're basically at the mercy of Mother Nature. Whereas I thought, well, why not turn the tables and, you know, the event, you tailor the event to deal with the you know, the conditions. So, you know, if the wind is light, I'll just bring up, where is it? This. Oh, does it? Yeah. So if the wind is light, I've actually purchased, well, I purchased with the budget from Wave Rally, 12. It's a bit hard to see, isn't it? Hold on, let me see here.
You can see they're inflatable socks.
Yeah. So I've from Goya/Quattro, and they're actually shipping them as we speak. I bought 12 at an incredibly good price. Obviously, they're helping trying to support the event. So if the wind is not strong enough for the wave boards, well,
you're gonna do supping tours.
Well, not supping. Like obviously, the sail will plug into the mast track and be racing on these. You know, through. And okay, it's not planing, but through corros where the little waves and stuff, you know, at the background of buoyant back, it'll be super fun. Like it'll be super fun. It'll be super fun, and it's kind of taking windsurfing back. And you know, these things in the waves will just be an absolute laugh. You know, it'll be cool. And so basically, when I first came up with this idea of using them, I actually first reached out to Starboard through Ian, spoke to Sven, and he was really helpful. But unfortunately, I didn't go with them because their SUPs are incredibly high end. You know, they retail for $2,000 or whatever it is in euro.
It was all the windsurfing inflatable board as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're like really high end, like they're the top end inflatable SUPs, because you can either spend $200 on a SUP at your local camping store or $2,000. You know what I mean? Like and I just didn't. I was going to get 12 of these things, and they were going to give me a really good deal, but the end cost was just going to be prohibitive. So the Quattro ones ended up being in a slightly. They're still very high end, but not quite to the high end level of the Starboard. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Starboard because they were, really trying to help me, and Ian as well. It was helping. So Yeah, so it was that was good. Yeah, and actually, one other thing, just quickly, I did mention the website. This is an absolute like the website's going to look something like this. This is the home page. There'll be a menu at the top. At the moment, if you go to waverally.org, there's just a landing page with a countdown and a register now button.
90 days to go.
I know, mate. It's been ticking quickly. It's scary how quickly time goes, doesn't it? But this landing page is not optimized. So if you view it on a mobile phone or something, the whole thing just goes all effed up, basically. Okay. So it's kind of a shitty landing page. But I'm hoping that the website will be up in about a week, and it'll have all the menus and all the information. But if you go to register here, it takes you to Windsurfing Western Australia, where you can register there, and it's got more information and da 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 da.
How many have you got entered?
12. I've got 12 people. So, but the thing is with that is I've been told by other people who have organized events that a lot of people leave it to the last month to buy tickets. You know, like it's still 3 months away. Yeah. So it's kind of, I know there's a lot of people I know that are probably coming who just haven't bought a ticket yet because they just slack or they just haven't been, you know. And the other thing too is there's a lot of Euros that I think will go into the event. In summer in Geraldton, we get a lot of tourists, you know, come here. None of them have arrived yet. There's no one here. So there's still a lot of potential entrants. My goal is to try to get at least 60, 70 people. That would be the kind of minimum, if you like. Okay. And I've capped it at 120. I mean, I don't know, 120 would be sort of hectic, but
it would be hectic.
Yeah, exactly.
30 is a lot sometimes when you're trying to organize everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So it's anyway, but yeah, it's a shame you're not going to be there, Benny, because you would be amazing for, you know, obviously helping promote the events and so forth. Look, actually, I spoke to Lucas Meldrum. You know Lucas Meldrum?
Yeah.
He said he's coming. He's coming to.
He also WA. He said he was asking me about it.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So
go.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few kind of pro windsurfers that will be here. But Lucas, I spoke to, and he said that he would do a bit of behind the scenes or a bit of promotion through his YouTube channel. So that's the thing, you know, as an event organizer, I'm just my head's spinning with all the media side of things. But anyone that can turn up at an event and just do a few little videos or, you know, for their Instagram, that's golden. You know, that's so good. So anyway, so hopefully it'll be good. And yeah, like I said, if anyone's in the area or wants to come, please join in. Be good.
Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. So there is new people coming in. We do have a new record. The new channel on YouTube has got a whopping 85 subscribers. I'd say that's pretty good.
Well, that's really good.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, so the next podcast, this is it for this channel, right? It's all going to be done there.
Yeah, that's the new channel. So there's one video on the new channel. In case you are just tuning in, this is not the last podcast, but it is the last podcast on Windsurfing.TV. All future podcasts, all live podcasts will be on the new podcast YouTube channel, which is called, or if you want to find it, you just put in the search bar on YouTube at Windsurfing Podcast. That's it. Windsurfing Podcast. And you will find it. It'll pop up. Follow, subscribe to that channel because all the live notifications, and make sure you put the, you know, they always say, put the notification bell on. But if you are interested in tuning in live, it does make sense to actually click the notification bell thing and put yes, all notifications, just so you get notified. If you don't want to do that, that's also fine. I don't mind. But yeah, it's cool to have you guys tuning in. We've got 137 people right now. We've got 80 odd subscribers. Those numbers don't add up.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's not bad. But there you go. That is it. That's the update from here. We will be bringing the podcast back. We're going to be doing probably more style podcasts and different stuff, some short ones, some interview style ones. We've got the Hall of Famers, which we did have Pete Cabrina lined up. I'm sure he's still waiting in the wings somewhere. We've also got some like channel guys. I was speaking to quite a few with Bob van der Berg, who went from Holland to England and then back to Holland in one day. 18 hours of sailing. We're going to get him on. So we are going to be doing plenty of stuff. They are available if you don't want to tune into YouTube. And I actually listen to most of the podcasts on Spotify if I do it. So it is on Spotify. I think it's on Apple. We're on this podcast channel, which basically gives it out to everybody. So it should be on most of the big ones as well as YouTube. But just subscribe because it does help trying to get people interested. It would be great to have a sponsor for the podcast channel because I know it's not many viewers. So it is hard to get like a decent sponsor, but it would be nice to pay Mr. Van Bellen some money and Matt Czechrakowski some money for their time, which is definitely appreciated because it's cool to windsurfing enthusiasts, I would call them, windsurfing fans. And also, you know, you guys at home, feel free to put in the comments who you want to hear from, what subjects you want covering. Should we bring fantasy windsurfing back where we pick a team? We did it with Matt Czech and Craig Gerton back 2 years ago, I think it was. But it's pretty interesting. We might have even revisit those teams and see how they have done since we picked them, who's done well, who hasn't done well. I was actually looking at my team. It's got better. Like I was like a year ahead of my time, I think. I was a year ahead.
You're good
so
at that
yeah,
stuff,
there you go. That's it. Winter's coming. The reason we didn't have the podcast in the summer, it's the summer. But now, like, things are getting into the winter. The nights are getting dark up here in Europe. And, you know, people are driving in the misery. And you can listen to me and him chopping on about something. Cheer you up maybe a bit. But like I said, feel free to put in comments of what categories you want to cover.
There were so many things I want to ask you today, which we haven't covered. I wanted to ask you about the events and how all that went, but we can keep it for another time.
We got plenty of time for that. Plenty of other podcasts. We don't want to burn everyone's ears off on the first one, and we need to do it on the new channel. We need something to talk about on that new channel.
Yeah.
So subscribe to the new channel. I'll put all the things in the comments. I have been spamming the comments. They're probably going to block me. I'm going to block myself in a minute. I've spammed that much. But yeah, there we go. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have to update all the stingers.
See you guys. Ooh, new sponsors. No, see you on the next channel, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Let's have a word with Yogi Tea. Do you think they're the sponsors?
Oh, yeah. How good's
Yogi,
tea?
come on, Yogi.
Are you enjoying the tea?
I am actually. I've got a good pitch for him. I won't. Maybe I'll do it on the next podcast if people are tuning into YouTube because I've got a funny I can't even explain it because it will give the game away. But I think it's quite funny. I can't laugh at my own jokes, but I am doing because it is kind of funny. But we'll see. Maybe Yogi Tea come on, and then we can start the podcast with a tea or a beer. If any beer,
there's a lot of opportunity.
We're happy. He doesn't drink beer, so he needs tea. All right.
I'll be happy with tea. Okay. See you guys. Till next time.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. Cars, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.